Hello, viewers. Welcome to another episode of The Times. I hope you're doing just fine on the other side. Today, we are diving into a topic that might be considered taboo among the married folks. However, it's not uncommon to hear about married folks developing crushes on someone else other than their spouses. Often, a colleague or someone they frequently interact with. And you guess the topic. Okay, don't worry too much. We are discussing handling crushes in marriage. That sounds interesting, right? Of course, we know the moral stance, we know the moral and the religious stance when it comes to having crushes. It's not something you should even talk about. Do these things happen? Definitely yes. When we talk about crush, that you are attracted to someone other than your spouse. Joining us to provide insight on this topic is Deji Onipede. Deji is an accomplished teacher, a school administrator, and he is also into business. His business interests span across education, real estate, hospitality. He's the owner of Whitford Schools in Abeokuta, Ogun State, Nigeria, and the CEO of Gela Homes and Properties Limited, a real estate company that sells happiness estate. The Onipede is married. He's been married for 16 years and has managed to juggle career, family, and social activities. I promise you it's going to be an interesting section. Don't go nowhere. And I remain your host, Omoshola. Welcome again to this episode of The Time. Welcome, Deji. It's my pleasure to have you on the show. How are you doing?
I'm all right, Marshall. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, and thank you for gracing the invite. So today's topic, is a very dicey kind of, because it's not something that is mentioned or that married folks want to talk about. Having a discussion with married individuals, I realized that this thing, it does happen really, but people shy away from it. It's not something they want to talk about. From the profile I've read about you, you've been married for
For
16 years.
16 years now, since
Yeah, for 16
2006.
years. So that you've had enough experience to say, okay, being the kind of person you are into business, you are a teacher, you're always surrounded people, female folks. So, and that is why I feel it's gonna be appropriate for you to shed more light on this topic. I don't want somebody that is too religious. So I will not going to be, from religious angle at the same time. I just want us to be practical as much as possible. So this episode of the Tight, we are going to be talking about how to handle crushes in marriage. These are challenges, especially for women in particular. It's not something that you want to admit that, oh, you're actually crushing on someone aside your husband. So today we are going to look at this from a man's perspective. How do they handle crush in marriage? And probably when time permits us, I would like to invite female as well to come and talk about the topic and tell us how they've been able to manage crushes in marriage. Is this something that happens or they've never had before? So start by asking this first question. Is it possible for someone to have a crush outside their marriage? Or you just believe that once you're married, you can never have a crush on any other apart from your spouse? So let's just start with that.
Okay, thank you for that question. Well, the way I see it is having a crush on someone is very natural. It's something that comes naturally. It's not something that you design. It's not something that you can actually decide whether or not you want to have a crush on someone. The best you can do is either to fight it. Yeah, you can have a crush on someone and fight the feeling, but you cannot stop yourself from having a crush because it's something that comes naturally. You just come across someone, maybe in school, in your workplace, in your neighborhood, church, or any other religious gathering, and for some reasons unknown to you, you just feel like you connected with this person, you just like them naturally. There is just a kind of chemistry and affection, and you feel it. It's not your fault that you feel that way, but you can actually fight it or give it an expression. That is within your control.
Wow,
Uh,
okay, okay. So that being said, what do you think are the common reasons people develop crushes after their marriage? I know you talk about that it's not your fault, it's something that just happened naturally. But do you think the person is not emotionally mature enough to handle such feeling? Or what's your perspective about that?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That it depends on the individual whether or not they want to fight that feeling or they want to give that feeling an expression. Okay, answering your first question, whether or not it is possible to have a crush, I
Yeah.
think it is possible to have a crush. Okay, on someone, on anybody whatsoever, you can have a crush on someone. So whether or not you're going to give that feeling and expression, or you're going to fight it is something entirely up to you. But you can always have a crush on someone. Yeah. So
Okay.
and I think the second question is talking about whether one should be mature enough to fight
Yeah.
it. It depends on what I'm looking for. Okay, if I have a crush on someone, I can decide to fight it if I think it's going to bring more problems than joy. But if I think it's going to bring more joy than problems, this life is all about laughter and cry. So it all
I think I'm
depends.
going to ask
Yeah.
you, you are going to go deeper. What do you mean by more joy? Well, you have to be by more joy. And that's the reason why I want you to answer the reason why people have crushes in marriage. Is it because probably the home front, and in the home front there is no peace, there is no joy, but at the same time we have a perfect home that everything is going on as well, and yet you still find people having crushes, or you
Yes,
don't
I
agree with
think
that?
I think we should draw a fine line between having a crush on someone and
Okay,
dating someone. Okay,
okay, okay.
I've been in a situation where people say I like you, but I can't date you.
Mm,
Like I have a crush on you, but for certain reasons, I cannot date you. Do you understand? And so you
okay.
just look, okay, this person has a crush on me. There is an affection somewhere, but for certain reasons and factors, we cannot give that feeling an expression. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you can have a crush on anyone so long as you like them naturally, and you feel a little bit of affection towards them romantically. Of course, it's not when you just like someone platonically. That's not a
Okay.
crush. That's not a
Yeah.
crush. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. From that submission now, how can someone differentiate between a harmless crush and something that might threaten their marriage, especially if this person you're having a crush on is someone you see on a daily basis, somebody you cannot have, I mean, avoid. Maybe you work together, you always consistently, something consistently brings you together. So can someone differentiate between, oh, this is harmless, I can manage this, and something that might threaten their marriage?
Yes, it's very easy to differentiate because you know what you feel, and at the same time you know the kind of person the other person is. So it's very important to put those factors into consideration. You know the kind
Okay.
of person that the other person is. You know there are some people you dare not have a relationship with them. It's going to land you in trouble
Mm.
eventually. We are trying to streamline this thing into marriage.
Yeah.
There are people, married people can have relationships with, and they're not mature enough, let me put it that way, to protect the virtue and the character of the other person. Do you understand? So if
Okay.
you know this is the kind of person the other person is, then you've got to fight the feeling. Okay, if you're working together, we all know it is not advisable to mix business with pleasure. Okay,
Definitely.
so no matter how much you may be attracted to someone that you're working with, you need to at least try and fight the feeling. If you think it's not going to work, for instance, if it's a business partnership, for God's sake, by the time you bring in emotions into it, it's going to affect decisions in the business, and you're going to run some risk having an affair or dating someone you are in business with. Yeah.
Mm. Yeah, absolutely. I think I love that. I love it. It still boils down to placing some certain things over your emotions, because emotions can be
Yes.
quite deceptive. Okay, so moving on, how important is it to communicate with your spouse about having a crush? Is it, in your home? in your own opinion, do you think it should always be
You
disclosed?
see, having a crush on someone is an internal affair. It's something that is intra. It is within you. So there is no point disclosing it to anyone, not even your friend, not to talk about your husband, because or your wife, because it can be the other way. But it is more dangerous for a woman, okay, to disclose who they crush on. If a woman crushes on a man
Yeah,
and she tells her husband, the chances are the husband at that moment will start watching the steps of the woman. Okay.
exactly.
And what the woman does whenever she's around the man. In fact, the name of that man becomes a taboo in that house. Because
Hmm.
usually we all have people. I have colleagues whose names I mentioned at home. This has got nothing to do with pushing on anyone, but because
Okay.
of the activities, okay, that go on at work, you just find out. You've got to when sometimes when we get in, we discuss with our spouses the events
Yes,
at
about how
work.
do they
This is
go?
what, yeah, but there is always one name of the opposite gender that always comes up. Okay, and men also are very sensitive to that. There is always one Mr. Something that a woman always talks about. And Mr.
Yeah,
Something now said, Mr. Something now said. A man can accuse you. Is it that Mr. that is always in your workplace that you? So if a woman discloses that she is actually crushing on someone, the husband will start watching, and everything she does around the man becomes suspicious. So
hmm.
I'll advise not to disclose. There is no point disclosing what you feel about someone else, especially if that someone is someone else's wife. I mean,
Hmm.
or someone else's husband.
Yeah.
There's no point.
So it generates unnecessary suspicion
Yes, and heated debates in the house. Everything the
in the
woman does,
house.
yeah, everything. You
Hmm.
can't even answer a call from that person. It's going to be
Absolutely,
suspicious.
absolutely. I think I quite agree with that 100%. So that answers it. I wanted to ask you that if yes, what are some effective ways to discuss this? But since your own stance is no, then there's no point moving on to
He's
the
a
question.
yeah. My standpoint is no because it hasn't generated anything.
Okay.
You're not having an affair.
Yeah,
You're
it's
not
just a
having an
crush.
affair. It's just a crush. So there's nothing. What's there to discuss? It's all right if you're discussing having a crush on a celebrity. Maybe that's all right. That one is far fetched. You may
Yeah,
never
because
see that.
you cannot have access
You
to
may
them.
you may never come in contact with that celebrity. You can always say, "Oh, I like this guy. I like a celebrity."
Yeah.
But if you're talking about someone you see on daily basis, weekly basis, a church member, a colleague at work,
Mm-hmm.
and if you tell your husband you're crushing on a colleague at work, and then he comes to your workplace one day and this colleague asks you, you're going to give an explanation when you get home.
Yeah.
Okay, but if you've not said anything and he hugs you, I mean, it's just Mr. Okay, yeah, it's all right. I also know you. It's my wife's colleague. It's my wife's
Yeah.
colleague. It's all right. But when it becomes it's my wife's colleague and my wife crushes on him, yeah, there's going to be
It becomes a big issue.
yeah, it
Yeah, I
becomes a
like
big
that.
issue.
Thank you so much
It's
for that.
yeah,
I really,
it
really
becomes
like
a
that.
big
So
issue.
moving on,
Yeah.
what step can someone take to understand why they are having a crush or why they develop a crush? There must be a reason because Charlie, I believe that if you are 100% comfortable, in the marriage, you are okay with your spouse, you are very satisfied with the way things are going. Do you think someone can develop a crush despite everything that is, everything is settled, everything is going on smoothly in that marriage? So what step can someone take to understand how am I developing the crush in the first instance? I know in the beginning you said this is natural, it's something you cannot control, it's something that just come, but is there any other reason aside that?
There is, I always say something. There is one economic principle that cuts across all walks of life and every endeavor of man. And that economic principle is the fact that human wants are unlimited. Okay.
Mm.
So when you satisfy one want, one need, another one rises. Once you satisfy that one, another one rises. We all know that right now in our country, the richest man in Africa is running a refinery. You know what that means? It tells you that human beings naturally are never satisfied. So
Mm.
they keep looking for more, more, more. It also comes into marriage. You may say this is the kind of man you want. But when you find the kind of man you want, you realize you still need another kind of man. You may say
Mm.
this is the kind of woman you want. When you find the kind of woman you want, you still realize you still need another kind of woman. If you look around men, you see in most cases, if the wife, okay, is a little bit chubby, what we call a robot in
Yes.
Yoruba. The girlfriend, if the
Okay.
man has a girlfriend, the girlfriend is usually
Or
leper.
just a
Okay,
plus
yeah.
size.
So he tells you you're the kind of person he wants, and then
Okay.
eventually when he marries you with that stature, he goes ahead looking for someone with a different stature. They say variety is the spice of life.
And
So
that's
yeah.
I don't know about
So,
that anyway.
so variety is the spice of life. So
For men.
when he already has the chicken, this is trying to have a taste of turkey or fish or something else. Yeah. So that's how it comes about. So he's going to see someone else.
Mm.
Okay. Sometimes it's even someone that looks very much like his wife. Or
Mm.
for a woman, it's someone that looks very much like a husband or her next, or it may even be because of the way someone dresses or because of the way they talk,
Mm.
their gait, the way they walk. It can be because of variety of reasons, but it boils down to the fact that humans are never satisfied. We can only fight and control what we want and what we try for. I mean, everything we try to achieve, we can only try
Yeah.
to control them, but we cannot stop wanting more. No, we
Wow.
cannot. If marriage certificates have have an expiry date, most people will be looking for the expiration of their marriages so that they can legally move on to someone else.
Is that so?
Yeah, that's so. That's the simple truth about it.
Mm.
Because you just find out at a point that you
You've seen
married.
it all.
Yeah, you've seen it, or what we call see finish, you know, and then you just want to explore that areas. But because of
Mm.
religion, society, and the law, we are
Yeah.
actually we are limited into that one marriage, and of course because of children. But if nature is let loose, humans are very brutish. It is just who we are. We are controlled by law, religion, and society.
Yeah.
If law, religion, and society are out of the way, we're not humans. We know what human. We don't behave like humans that we say we are. So it comes naturally, but we can fight
Wow.
it or express it
Mm-hmm.
with our choice.
Mm.
Yeah.
You've actually made a very cogent point, and that is it. That is it. That's just it. There's nothing more to add to it. So it still all boils down to contentment. Just choose one and fight whatever every other thing that is going to like
Yeah.
or affect the marriage in a very negative way. Okay, so
Yes, that's why I spoke about how it affects your relationship. So if you see that it's going to affect your relation, if anyone sees it that way, then they've got to just fight the feeling. But no one
yeah.
can no one can stop the feeling from coming.
Mm. Have been a situation whereby you've seen married women talk about
Yeah.
having a crush on someone, and they are really struggling, and it's not something they can easily really be open about, maybe to their friend or to their husband. When should someone consider seeking professional help, especially when it comes to a situation whereby you trying as much as possible to fight it, but it seems like your emotions keep winning.
Yeah, if it gets to that point, yeah, I'll agree that someone has to seek professional help. But the bottom line is, if the feeling is so strong, and it's mutual, people divorce. I'm sorry, but see, marriages are not do or die affairs. It is not until your husband beats you or your wife cheats on you or something. Me, you can fall in love with someone else. There is no law that says you cannot fall in love with someone else.
But
You
you
can
fall,
be a
still
man.
fall in, at the same time, that same person you fell in love with, you will still fall out of love with the person. And still, just like you said, you keep on seeking for another kind of person.
Yes, yes, it is possible, but at the same time, you may get to a point of no return. You may get to a point of no return. And just, you see, I understand that the part of the world where we are from, we like to talk about morality and then restrict
Yeah,
things and then advise people to stay in marriage, especially because of their children, even when they're suffering there. There are women who have died in marriages untimely simply because they don't want to go somewhere else. That they just say, I don't want them to be counting it for me. But we
yeah.
have also seen women who, they just them all consequences and then they move on. All right. So if the feeling is so high, you need to seek professional help. If you're happy where you are, if a woman is happy where she is, she should try as much as possible to not do anything that can, negatively affect that marriage. Mhm. She should. Okay, if it involves seeking professional help, fine, because she's happy where she is. So there is no point, causing other troubles because you have a crush on someone, especially if that someone is someone else's wife. He probably will not even marry you in the first place. Or if something goes wrong in your marriage because of somebody else's wife, then your marriage will start to have a problem. And they are okay with he's okay with his wife. He's not involved in your problem. So that's why a woman has to fight that feeling. She's got to fight it. But if the feeling is mutual and she's certain, well, and she's not so happy where she is, she can move if she wants. Yeah, if she wants. But for men, it's very easy for men. A man can actually even take a second wife or a third wife or me. So when it comes to crushing on someone, men are a little bit flexible. Well, let me say the society is a little bit flexible on demand. It's just the woman that has to be extremely careful when crushing on someone. Yeah.
What boundaries should be
Yes.
set to ensure a crush does not escalate into something serious, especially when you cannot but see the person every day, when you cannot but do things together, a work colleague, what boundaries should be set to ensure that does not escalate? How can we set boundaries in such a situation?
Yeah, you keep the relationship extremely and strictly professional. Yeah, you don't. Number one, don't discuss your affairs with your crush. Okay, if anything happens, because when two people work together, when a man and a woman work together, as colleagues, and they spend a lot of time together working professionally, there are tendencies that they will be discussing their homes,
Hmm.
okay, at their free time or even during work at their free time, So such discussions should not come up or should be limited to the barest minimum, because the Yoruba people say if the wall does not open, the lizard cannot go in. So
Yeah, tó gírí ò bá lọ
yeah,
aláǹgbá ò lè wọ ọbẹ̀.
exactly, it took you. So if the wall does not open, the lizard cannot go in. So that's how it is. So it is when you start discussing the weaknesses or challenges in your marriage that the other
Yeah,
person sees an
and take
opportunity.
advantage of that.
Exactly. For instance, if a man is complaining that his wife will not cook or something, then the
Yeah.
colleague can suggest, should I bring food for you tomorrow? And
Hmm.
that's the beginning, you know.
Hmm.
Yeah. So there's
Okay.
no.
Okay, so having said that, how do you think someone can redirect that feelings and energy back into the marriage?
Yeah, it's very easy for you to have loved I mean, for you to have married your spouse in the first place. There is love. However little, there is love. Okay, so we can work on that. And for men, it is easier for men to redivert to their wives. It's very easy. For instance, in terms of finances, I've seen situations where a man has decided to buy, some items for a girlfriend, and because the girlfriend misbehaved or acted inappropriately at the point of their contact, he took
Okay.
everything back home. He took everything back home and he gave to his wife.
Mm.
Okay. Okay. And then he felt like, what kind of nonsense is that? I've not even done as much as that for my wife, and you're the one behaving, So when a man thinks about the finances, the financial implications, the wastages, and all those things, he can channel it back. When a
Mm.
woman thinks about children, how will a woman feel when the news of dating someone outside the marriage comes out, and I want children, get to know about it? What moral standing will she have in the presence of the children when they become of age 16, 17, 18? What moral standing will she have? Okay, women should be able to say in the presence of their own children that since I have married your father, no other man. I'm not talking about before, but since I have married him, no other man. So those thoughts or vows can actually help a woman to just stay put. And
Mm.
we have seen cases of DNA, all these embarrassments about being in a marriage, having children, and
Mm.
eventually the husband is not the father of the children. You can see such disgrace. Okay, when we are watching on TV, we may not know who these people are, but a lot of people, millions of other people know them. They're from certain families, certain neighborhoods, certain workplaces. People know them and they know their children. Their children are attending certain schools. The kind of disgrace and all those things it can bring on their family, and of course the mental effects it can have on their children and their children's education. So I think both parties, both the man and the woman, have very good reasons to fight it. Very good reasons to fight it. Yeah. If they want, anyways.
Yeah, yeah, in fact, there's a lot of sense in that. Absolutely. I can't agree less. So, you've covered most of the questions that I intend to ask. So I'll just ask two more questions. So, what preventative measures can couples take to minimize the chances of developing crushes outside the marriage? Preventative measures, in order for it not to even happen at all.
That's where we started from, Mashallah. There is no way it will happen. You're gonna find
Hmm.
someone you like. Many men, well, it happens a lot. I'll be walking down the street with my wife. Somebody passes by and she's so beautiful. And I'll use stylishly, I'll turn back to look at the side. I've seen the front. I want to see the back side as well. You know, she passes by, and then maybe I'll just turn around and spit or just pretend I want to see something. Sometimes she
Hmm.
realizes what I have done, but you know, and so several times my wife also has identified some men for me as looking good. Okay,
Hmm.
okay, I'll give you an instance. I went
Okay.
out with yeah, I went out with my wife to a particular place, a pub. All right. But when we got to the pub, they didn't have what we wanted to drink and eat. So we decided to go to somewhere else. All right. So when we got to the somewhere else, my wife was telling me that a particular man was actually at the previous place. And I was like, how did you know? Because we were there together and I didn't notice he was there. So how come
Hmm.
you noticed he
For
was
us to
there?
notice and still recognize, that means there is something that attracted her.
To the man. You know what I'm talking about. So she noticed that man in that place.
Hmm.
Okay. And I didn't notice that man. Perhaps if the man was a woman, I would have noticed also. Okay. So but I
Exactly.
didn't notice, the man. And I felt so. And you know what I was doing? I was comparing the man and myself. And so that takes us back to the issue of disclosing to your husband or your
Yeah,
wife that
yeah.
you have a crush. The man will start doing, what is it that we do in biology in secondary school?
comparison,
that
trying to,
comparison
yeah,
kind of was so. I think that's the way it is. We cannot stop it from
from happening.
happening, but we can stop it from growing. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, you just see
Thank you for
someone and you
that.
like them. Even at first sight. At first sight, you just like someone. Like you go
Mm.
to a place to work and a particular person will just say, I'll work with you. No, 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 I'll work with you. They just want to work with you. And then you just realize why. Okay. I mean, someone telling you, I like your this, I like your, or you're the kind of man I like, or you're the kind of woman I like. It doesn't mean
Mm.
anything is going to happen, but that is the beginning. So, but if you don't want anything to happen, you nip it in the bud right there. You don't let it happen because you're not
Mm.
interested. But if you are interested, people are interested. We shouldn't come to this platform and talk as if everyone should just keep quiet and not express their feelings. There
Yeah.
are people that will go ahead and do it. Yeah, if it is safe for them, good luck. But they should know they're going to bear the consequences if it backfires.
Mm.
Yeah.
Wow. This is an
That's what
interesting
it is.
session. Our viewers, wherever you're listening, wherever you're watching from, if there's anything you're going to take away from this discussion, it is you cannot stop it from happening, but you can stop it from growing. That's from Deji.
Yes.
A quote from Deji.
Yeah, you
Thank you
can.
so much for that.
It's a natural feeling. You feel it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then you decide, no,
Okay.
I'm
So
not expressing it.
you said something? What was that?
No, I said you feel it, but you can decide I'm not expressing it.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. It's just like, let me put it this way, just like asking if it is possible not to smell the aroma of a food.
Hmm.
Hmm? How can I stop myself from smelling or feeling the aroma of a food?
Yeah.
Okay, but I can decide whether to eat the food or not. But the aroma, I
You
can't
can't
stop
stop
myself,
it.
except if something is wrong
You
with me physically. Maybe my nose or something. I'm not capable of smelling. Yeah.
All right, thank you so much, Deji. I really, really enjoyed the section
Yeah.
with you. So,
Yeah.
the last question is, what advice would you give to someone currently struggling with a crush while being married? We are not talking about singles now. We are talking about
Yeah.
married folks. So, what advice would you give to someone currently struggling with a crush while being married?
Well, the only thing I can say is that if someone is married and they're having a crush on someone else, they've got to do their calculation very well. 99% of people will come here and say they should fight the feeling. But I'm not going to say fight the feeling. No. I've seen situations where affairs have helped people. Yeah. I know someone whose boyfriend helped her own son to get a job. They've looked everywhere. And then one day she just discussed with it. And she was a married woman. And then she just discussed with a boyfriend that blah blah blah. This my son has finished university. So he has finished, and you didn't tell me. We've seen situations where boyfriends have paid hospital bills. We've seen situations where boyfriends have paid house rent, even school fees of children. We've seen those situations. Okay, but most people will come out and play holy, say no, don't do it, don't do that. Men should step up to their responsibilities, or else their wives probably will give expression on their crushes. So what I'll say is, anyone that crushes on someone else should do their calculations very well. If it is going to negatively affect your marriage, and you don't want that, fight the feeling. If you don't care. So that's it. But
I had a discussion with someone, and
yeah,
our situation is that he's been emotionally abused. When we talk about emotional abuse in the house, the husband is giving you the silent treatment, it's not there, the affection, the emotions is practically dead in the marriage. And here you are
yeah.
having a crush on someone, and the person tends to seems to reciprocate, and it's
Mm-hmm.
really, really very difficult. It's not something you want to do, but it's very difficult for you fighting this. So, that kind of That
You
kind
know
of
what, Omashola,
yeah.
the scenario you are painting also comes with some financial gains. We have not even looked at that. We're just looking at feelings.
Mm,
Sometimes people are not even having crushes on the individual, they're having crushes on the material. So basically, as far as I'm concerned, anyone that's having a crush on someone else other than their spouse, okay, should do their calculations, okay, do a thorough analysis of the situation, because when people crush on others, it's maybe for different reasons, including finance, So I'm not in the position to say don't do it or do it. I'm not a religious leader. I don't preach morality. I'm sorry, but do your analysis and then know that if there are consequences, you will be responsible for the consequences. That's my advice.
consequences for every action.
Yes. Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much, Deji, for gracing this session. I sincerely appreciate, and I believe our viewers, anybody watching, they've been able to like pick one or two things away from this. It's been explanatory, educating, and interesting as well. It's an interesting topic that people don't really want to talk about. But all the same, thank you for taking your time to analyze it logically and sincerely. So I sincerely appreciate that.
Thank you, Omoshola, for having
All
me.
right.
Yeah.
Do enjoy the rest of your day.
All right. Bye.
Yeah, take care. Bye. Thank you so much for staying tuned. I hope you enjoyed that session. If you have a contrary opinion to Deji's submission on today's episode of The Tides, kindly drop your comment, kindly drop your thoughts. Let me know what you feel about this topic. I will be looking forward to reading your comments. Thank you once again for watching and see you in my next video. Have a nice time.